Communication Specialist for the PANCAP Knowledge for Health project based at the PANCAP Coordinating Unit in Georgetown, Guyana. And I'm pleased to be your moderator for today's webinar. I want to extend a warm welcome to you on behalf of the entire partnership and our director, Mr. Derek Springer. And also with us is our knowledge coordinator, Dr. Shanti Singh Anthony. And as you know, PANCAP continues to serve as a knowledge hub for the region, and through this forum, we are pleased to share with you new knowledge and skills to build the capacity of our members and stakeholders. This webinar is designed to enhance your skills in presenting data using the Piktochart program. Now, before I start, I just want to share some tips with you. Firstly, your mics are muted. If you have questions as the presentation progresses, please note them down in the sidebar, and that's the area where you can leave comments or questions. And following the presentation, there will be a question and answer segment, so you can type your questions in the comment section. And finally, the webinar will be recorded and shared on the PANCAP website, YouTube channel, and our social media platforms, that's Facebook and Twitter. And that's for the benefit of the greater partnerships. If you would have missed anything during our webinar, you can always go back to that recording. We'll send it to you and ensure that you have the recording available. And I'm very pleased to share with you some information on our facilitator, and she's none other than Miss Elizabeth Tully, Program Officer at the Johns Hopkins Center of Communication Programs. And Elizabeth has been with the Johns Hopkins CCP since 2009. In her first 7 years with the K for Health project, that's a Knowledge for Health project, Elizabeth supported and then managed the toolkits portfolio consisting of more than 50 toolkits. More recently, Elizabeth has transitioned to producing animated videos using her creative side to highlight project success stories. Additionally, in her role as program officer, Elizabeth supports the Storytelling Initiative, Family Planning Voices, and she manages K for Health's role as Secretariat for USAID's Post-Abortion Care Connection Working Group. And she leads K for Health's role on family planning, high impact practices website, and online presence, and supports field work with PANCAP. Elizabeth earned her Bachelor of Science in Family and Consumer Sciences with a minor in Communications from West Virginia University and is an avid mountaineer fan. That's a bit of trivia for you and our presenter, Miss Elizabeth Tully. And I'm so pleased. I know Elizabeth is quite good at Piktochart. She's an expert, I would say, a genius at it, because she's helped me on so many occasions to create products using Piktochart. So I'm very pleased that she's with us this afternoon to share with us some tips on how to use Piktochart for data visualization. Elizabeth, welcome.
Thanks, Timothy. That's a lovely introduction. I just hope I can live up to everything that you've sold me as. So today in our webinar, and thanks for joining, I'll be talking about creating visual content, including data visualization using Piktochart. So Timothy already presented on me, so we'll just jump right in. In today's webinar, I will be providing a quick overview of the online program Piktochart and its features. I'll be showing you how to select a template and modify it to suit your needs. We'll be going over how to share your graphic once it's complete. We'll be talking through some considerations to keep in mind when making a graphic. I'll be showing you some examples of products that have been created using Piktochart, both for the PANCAP work and other K for Health work. And lastly, there'll be a time, as Timothy mentioned, for questions. So there is a free version of Piktochart, and it allows you to create as many visuals or graphics as you want, so there's no limit. However, there are a limited amount of pre-formed templates, around 24 to select from. But you also have the option to start with a completely blank template and add any colors and graphics that you want to it. When you are ready to share your graphic, it will have the Piktochart watermark when using this free version. And if you do download the graphic, you're able to download it just into image files such as JPEG and PNG. But if you work with a paid version, there are more than 600 preformed templates to start with. There's no Piktochart watermark, and you can download the visuals in high quality print files, including PDFs. And the subscription is relatively inexpensive at $24 per month, and it's like really cheap for nonprofits at $40 per year. So if you qualify in that, then it's really worth it to go with the paid version. So when you do log into Piktochart, and just so you know, you can just create an account that's automatically linked to your Google or Facebook account, so you don't have to create a new account. It just links to that. You will have the option to select a blank template. That's the white image on the left side, or a preformed template. And if you're not sure what that means, that's what the image is on the right. So it starts with, it gives you all sort of different graphical elements that you can then input your own information and data into it. This is the case for both free and paid versions of the program. You can go either route you choose. And if you do find a preformed template that closely enough fits your vision and your need, it's often an easier starting point. And you're able to modify it greatly, from color to the text, to the data, to the graphics that you use, and even to upload your own files and logos. So when you are ready to select a template, there will be a button at the top that reads Create New. You just select that, and you'll be prompted to decide between making a long form infographic, that's this one on the far left, a presentation style, or a printable letter-sized graphic. Thinking about the end goal of your graphic will help you make this decision. Will it only be used online, or do you plan on printing it? So making those sorts of, thinking through those things will help you at this stage. So here I have selected one of the 8 free options for the long form infographics, and now we can modify it. So if you like this design, but you want to lighten it up or change the color of the background from black, you simply click into the background menu, as I've highlighted here in the circle, and you have the ability to change it to anything, any color that you'd like. If you don't see the color that you want showing up in this recent colors section, you can click the plus sign and you can choose any color you want. So you can input a specific color code. If you have a branding plan, you can use exactly the color in that branding plan, or you can select a color from a color wheel that would display when you click that plus button. You also have the option to change the pattern of the background, and that's what you see displaying below the colors. So you can do polka dots, stripes, all kinds of things. So that's up to you to make those decisions. And then a couple notes on other things on this page. At the top here, you can title your infographic, and this makes it easy to identify it when you're looking through your saved projects area. And one other thing to note is that the program, as you're working, automatically saves your project, so you don't need to worry about constantly clicking the save button. But I do click the save button from time to time, and if I'm leaving my work to concentrate on something else for a while, I definitely click save before I step away from that browser. So when you're ready to modify text, you simply highlight the text by double-clicking, as I've done here. Then you can either type or paste directly into this box. And above the text field, you will see options to change the color of your font. That's with this bucket. You can change the font itself, the font size, the alignment. You can add bullets. And And you can see there's a bold and italicized, but they aren't really clickable at this point. Some fonts do not have the bold or italics options, others do. So you just have to sort of play around with it. You can also hyperlink text, and that's using this little link button over here. And this last button here is for either moving items to the front or to the back. If they're overlapping, it allows you to say, I want this, this image to appear before this one. So that's that little icon. So if you do make a change that you don't like, please note that there's this back button right here, and this reverses those changes. And you can click this button multiple times to keep undoing those changes, to get back to whatever desired state you want to get to. You can also add new text boxes if the template doesn't have enough that you're working in. So you can either do this by either copying and pasting one of the existing text boxes. So if you wanted another header like this, you could just select it, do copy, and then paste, and then you'll get this exact text again. Or you can press the text menu item and then select one of the options here. When you select it, a new text field will appear. And if you don't like the font or the font size that you selected, you can always go back to that text area where we could make all those changes to make it in line with your design. Okay, so this is the next section of the infographic of the preform template. And so I just scrolled to the next section. So that's what these graphs are here. If you do have data that you'd like to share in your infographic, you can use the existing graphs in the preformed template, but add your own specific numbers here. If you don't have any data for this particular project, you can just delete this section altogether. And I'll go over how to do that later. So when you're ready to modify a graph, you simply click this pencil icon in the upper right corner, and the chart box will appear. So here on the left-hand side, there are many options for other types of graphs or charts that you can select from, pie chart, all kinds of things here. So you just select the one that best fits the data you have and the story you're trying to tell. To customize your graph, take your data and you can put it into this little mock spreadsheet, and you will automatically see your numbers start reflecting in the chart on the left-hand side. You can also click on this little settings button to change attributes about your chart or graph. That would be including your title position, your legend position, if your legend is turned on or off, the colors of the actual bar charts. So you can make all kinds of changes in there. Once you're satisfied, you just click this update chart in the upper right corner, and those changes will be reflected in your graphic. Okay. So you'll see there are these icons below the graph. These can be replaced with other graphics that match your data or story, or you can just delete them from your template if it doesn't make sense to have them there. In this example, they've used those social media icons as a replacement to the graph's legend. They have the legend of this graph actually turned off. It would just appear as text. You know, it would say Facebook, Twitter, Instagram, or Google Plus as text. And in this case, the social media icons are able to illustrate this concept well, so it works, but only if the audience is actually familiar with what those icons are. So that's an important thing to keep in mind when using icons. Will your target audience understand what you're trying to communicate with the use of those graphics or icons? So let's say you want to replace the graphics or just add graphics to another section of your infographic. You want to look through the Piktochart library by going to the graphics menu here. And you can either do a search for a specific term in the search box, or you can go to a category. Here I'm in the technology category. I would simply select a graphic with my cursor, and it would be placed on my template, and I could move it around to wherever I want it to be. So you can see within the technology category, I'm in the icons that are color. There's also the ones that are just black and white, or you can look at all of them together in one place. Right under the graphics menu item is the uploads menu. If you have graphics or logos or photos that you'd like to upload to the program, you can do that as well. Like any other file upload, you just need to navigate to that saved file on your computer and load it to the program. This is a great way to customize the graphic to your project or organization and add your logo. The Piktochart library has many graphics and icons to select from, but it certainly isn't tailored for the health field. So in the work that I've done, I've found that I need to upload graphics related to health to effectively communicate some of those topics. The Piktochart library just doesn't have all of the icons that I need. So I use a website called The Noun Project, which has a wide variety of simple black and white graphics on almost any topic I've ever needed. It's a free website to use, and they're free to download with the promise that you will credit the artist in the piece. So I use that a lot, and if you find that you're not finding what you need in the Piktochart library, I strongly recommend you check out the Noun Project. Lastly, you can see there's this small menu system that displays just to the left of your template. I'll go into that a little bit more now. So here it is enlarged. There can be different sections of your infographic, and these are called blocks. In a long form infographic, it may be a break between one topic before moving to another topic. And in a print style design, it will be the break between the print size pages, so where the page break would be. Each of these different sections is referred to as a block, so that's why I'll be referring to all these things in this slide as a block. As you work through your infographic, you may find the need to add more blocks, remove some, or move items around. In order to do these functions, you have to have that particular block selected. The admin functions here won't appear until you have a specific block selected. You might find that you have a certain text field selected. You won't see this appear. You have to actually click the background of the section of the block. So that wasn't confusing, hopefully not. To add a new block, you click the plus size button, the plus button. If you want to add a new block to the end of your infographic, simply click your last block that you have and then press this button. It will add another one to the end of what you've already been working on. To rearrange or reorder your blocks, use the move up or move down buttons. Again, you have to have the specific block selected in order to do this. If you would like to make two blocks very similar or identical, you can use the clone block option, and that provides an identical version of the block you have selected. If you want to remove a block altogether, select that specific block and then click delete block. Again, if you make any changes and you think, oh my God, I can't believe I did that, you can still click this undo button and it will undo what you just did. Lastly, if you want to change the page settings, if you started, say, with a long form infographic, but you now need to rework your infographic to be printer friendly, you can make the page setting change in this last menu item. Again, it's this settings icon. This won't automatically change your design to work within the new page settings. So say you had a long form infographic, you need it to be printer friendly. You change it here. You'll still need to rework your design so that it works within its new page settings. For example, your design may conflict now with a page break. So you'd need to move items around so that it's no longer in the middle of that page break. And please do ask questions if that is confusing when we get to that portion. So you have several options once you have a draft of your infographic created. Using the File drop-down menu in the upper left-hand corner, you can select from a variety of things. You'll see this duplicate item, and this duplicates your entire infographic to have a second version. I've done this to make small tweaks, for example, changing the colors to see which version that you and others prefer. I also have duplicated if we're concentrating, or if we have one that we want to share on the web and one that will be printed, there might be some small tweaks that you make there. And also you'll see that there's the download visual menu item, and this allows you to download your infographic as the image files or the PDF if you have the paid version. And this way you can share the file with others through email attachments, or you can print it. Up at the top, you'll see a couple other options exist while you're working on your draft infographic. To see what your infographic will look like without all of the admin tools and menus, you can select the preview button. And if you'd like to share the infographic online without sending the file attachment, you can share a link with colleagues and others through this share section. Okay. So as I mentioned at the beginning, thinking about how this graphic will be used is a really important first step. This will help determine the type of template you'll want to use, and definitely save some headaches down the road, and I'm speaking from experience for sure on that one. If you plan to use both online and offline, say you envision your piece as being both printed and shared on a website, it may make sense to have two different versions. One that would be suited for the long form style if it's shared on the web, and another that is the printer-friendly page 8.5 by 11 size page. Another thing to think about is the language, framing, and complexity of your infographic. And this is important to consider based on your audience. So are you hoping to reach people already very familiar with the topic, or are you hoping to reach people that aren't as familiar? So framing that language will be really important. Are you using the graphical product to show data, or are you trying to explain a more complex topic? We've found that Piktochart works well for both of these situations. And next I'll be showing you examples of how Piktochart has been used to create a variety of graphical products, not just data visualizations. So example one, we use Piktochart to complement a written report on an online survey. So this was a nice complementary piece that gave a nice visual snapshot of what was presented in the report. So this was a long form. I just had to separate it into three so you could see the different elements. We also used Piktochart to create the fact sheets on the Caribbean 90-90-90 data. So here we have two versions of these fact sheets. One that is printer friendly, which is on the right side. And we used Microsoft Excel graphs that I uploaded as static image files into the program. The version on the left was these graphs were made using the program's Graph Maker. So what I just showed you as the, within the program itself when I edited that, that bar chart. So this version on the left-hand side is great for graphics being used and shared online because it interacts with the person viewing it. If they hover over a portion of that pie graph, that portion of the pie and corresponding data will display. Unfortunately, in this screenshot, the way that it gives you the screenshot, it shows all of the percentages, but that's not how it typically displays online. So it would just show the 48 if I were hovering over that, and then you could move around and see the different percentages. Here is another example of something the K4Health project created to communicate a complex topic into a visual way. So there isn't really, there is no actual numbered data in this. This is just about breaking down sort of a more complex topic into a visual way to demonstrate what a total market approach specifically to family planning means. We wanted to make this approach more understandable. And this is, again, a long form graphic, but I had to break it up to show it on the screen. Another example from the PANCAP work, we used Piktochart to create the roadmap to treat all. And this both provides a step-by-step guidance, pulling from experience in Barbados, and it provides it a more graphically interesting document and breaks down this complex process into steps. Again, this is a long-form infographic that I had to show in multiple pieces. So other uses for Piktochart that I've found, we've used it to create many of the PANCAP case studies. So I just created a simple template using Piktochart, and I just duplicate this every, when we're using another case study. When it comes to doing another case study, I just simply duplicate and plug in the text and modify the graphics and images as necessary. So it can be used to make documents as well as infographics. Again, we've used Piktochart for the storytelling work for PANCAP Voices. So just another way that we have used it. And other ideas of items you can create using Piktochart is a timeline to tell the history of a topic. You can create social media graphics or event announcements. So my plug is, if you lack the budget or time to work with a professional graphic designer, you can create your own graphical products in Piktochart. You just need to give yourself some time to play around in the program. And you can basically create any product. So if you're looking for more design flexibility than, say, you can get in Microsoft Word, this program is free and isn't too complicated or hard to learn once you've been using it for a while. And lastly, I just wanted to provide some information on some other programs that can be considered as well. Say you've tried Piktochart and it's just not your thing, you can maybe try something else. I've started using Canva for some newer case study type documents. It is also free, and it has the printing margin allowances already included in the design. So it's great for items that are going to be printed. Another option for data visualization is Infogram. And while I haven't used this particular program, a colleague has, and it has a basic free plan and a lot of chart and graph options to choose from. So I'll now open it up for questions. If you have been working in the program and have specific questions on how to do something, I'm also happy to do a live demonstration on specific tasks as well.
Great, thank you so much, Elizabeth. And as I said at the beginning in the introduction, Elizabeth is truly a genius when it comes to Piktochart. So I'll give our participants a few minutes just to send your questions in. There's the sidebar where you can type your questions, and we'll be looking to answer any questions you have for Elizabeth on Piktochart. But as we wait for those questions, Elizabeth, I don't know if you can just shed some light on just one question. I noticed you mentioned about sharing your Piktochart creations online via social media. And there are a lot of our partners who are currently participating in this webinar, and most of them have websites. Is there a way for us to get an embed code that can be used to share our Piktochart creations on a website? I noticed you highlighted the share option. Is there an embed code that we can use to probably share a graphic or fact sheet or any creation in Piktochart on a website?
Great question, Timothy. Yes, I failed to mention that. There is an embed option. So you can, if you click the embed code, it will give you a code that if you are the person who manages your website, or if you have someone that you can send it to, they can just put that into the HTML of the website page, and it will display on your web page as it feels like it's part of your site. So if you make something that you want to display on your site, that's doable.
Great, thank you so much, Elizabeth. I think that'll clear it up for a lot of our participants. And I noticed that there are a lot of our attendees. There are quite a few that were with us during the PANCAP Knowledge for Health Share Fair a few months ago. I can see Delcora Williams is here and quite a few others. So if you have any questions, I can see a participant from SASAD is also with us. If you have any questions, please just put them into the box and Elizabeth will be happy to answer those questions. Just one other question, Elizabeth, with regard to selecting colors, and I know this is a soft topic, but a lot of our participants were asking about that. Do you have any advice in terms of the color scheme? Selecting a color scheme, should they go with probably eye-catching colors, or should they stick to their branding manual or the colors in their logo, or if they have a particular manual, should they stick to those, especially for creations for social media? Do you have any advice when you're creating your products? Do you sometimes, to change it up a bit, do you select new colors, or do you just stick to your branding manual or your color scheme?
Yeah, so I mean, with K for Health and, with PANCAP, I know we have the branding plans, and I usually try to stick at least pretty closely to those. Sometimes concentrating more on one color than others, or, it kind of depends on the piece, but I would recommend having things feel cohesive to other products that you've put out. So that might be keeping it cohesive to your logo, or keeping it cohesive to other products that you've worked on in the past, unless you're going for overhaul and then change it up. But I think
Great. I think
just keeping it consistent is good.
Great. I think that's great advice. I tend to go overboard with colors, so I know it's important for you to
well,
just
I love
stick
color
sometimes
too.
to your
Yeah,
color scheme and have a particular set of colors that you can utilize.
Yeah.
Great. I see one question here from I think it's Greenwich. Andre Greenwich. Great. And he's asking if you do have a trial version with the free version, will any content created be available if you change to the paid subscription? So I think he's asking there, if you have if you're using the trial version, if you upgrade your account to a paid version, would you lose any content or any products that were created with the free version?
Nope. You will, as long as you use the same account. Say if, say there was a project account that was suddenly created, just make sure it's using what you've already started working on in your own account. So upgrade your own account.
Great, thank you so much for that, Elizabeth. I think that was quite clear. So if you're upgrading to the paid account, you will have your products that you would have created with the free version. There will be no changes. Nothing will be deleted.
Correct. You'll just
Great.
have more.
Speaking
You'll
about
just
the
have more
paid
options.
version, Elizabeth, I know you've had a lot of experience using the paid version. Do you think it's sufficient? Would you recommend that it's urgent for them to upgrade to the paid version, or do you get a lot of features with the free version?
I mean, I think you get a lot of options with the free version. And if you start from a blank template, then you don't hit a lot of roadblocks because you aren't the 24 preformed templates, that might seem limiting, but you can also just start from scratch and you have all the flexibility in the world. The one time where it would make sense to upgrade is if you do want to be able to print a PDF file or share a PDF file. So it kind of depends on if you really would like to share it as a PDF, then you'll need to upgrade. It didn't used to be that way. The PDF used to be part of the free, but it's not anymore.
Thank you so much for answering that, Elizabeth. I think that was quite clear. So I'm going to ask our participants again if you have any further questions. I want to thank, of course, Andre Greenidge for asking that question, but I can see quite a few others, especially those participants from our Share Fair. They're in the attendees block, and we're hoping that you can send some questions. Elizabeth is here. This is your chance to ask any questions you may have about using Piktochart. As I said before, Elizabeth is truly a genius at creating products in Piktochart. So if you have any questions, and as she said before, she can do some live demonstrations for you. I can see my friend Delcora Williams is there. I know she's very interested in using Piktochart for a lot of the work that she has to do. We have quite a lot of our National AIDS Program managers, some of our civil society partners are with us. So if you have any questions, please just put them in the box. We'll be happy to answer those questions before we end. Elizabeth, any final tips you want to share with our participants? I know we spoke a lot about sharing. You mentioned that we can share on social media. There's a PDF version as well that you can download. Any other tips for sharing or any other tips in general about Piktochart?
No, I don't think so. I would, I'm not sure everyone got my email address from the Share Fair group, but please, if you have questions that maybe you don't want to ask during the webinar, please do email me. I'm happy to take a look and assist how I can. So please follow up.
Great, thank you so much, Elizabeth. And I'm really happy you gave us two other options for you creating graphics using digital programs. I don't know if you want to bring the slide up again where there's the address for Canva.
Yes.
That's a really fantastic product, and I want to encourage, and I know we discussed Piktochart today, but I want to encourage our participants to look into Canva. Canva is a fantastic product. I'm really glad you recommended it, Elizabeth, because I use it quite a lot. It's great for social media, creating electronic posters in social media, creating event announcements, even some charts and graphics. You're able to do that with Canva. I think it's just as good as Piktochart. It's fantastic.
Yeah.
And I think you also mentioned Infogram.
Yes.
Okay, great. These are two fantastic recommendations, and I'm really happy, Elizabeth. I'm particularly a big fan of Canva. Any points you want to mention before we end on Canva, Elizabeth?
Oh no, I was just saying that I completely agree that Canva, if you're working on more documents, case studies, that kind of thing, or as you said, the social media graphics, Canva is great. I'm a really big fan. I've recently started using it, and I strongly recommend that program as well.
Great. I know we're both big fans of Canva, and I'm happy to say we have another question from again Andre Greenidge. Thank you so much for sending that question, Andre. And he's asking how easy it is to upload and incorporate custom logos and images into the program, and how much can they be manipulated in the program?
So it's very easy to upload. So yeah, I wouldn't. You can change the size, like you can make it smaller, larger. I would do any cropping and that kind of thing outside of the program before you upload it. But it's like any other file upload system on websites. It's very simple. you upload and then you select it and it automatically shows up in your graphic. So yeah, but otherwise I would just do any modifications to the logo outside of the program, then upload.
Great. I hope that answers your question, and I want to thank Andre for posting questions. I was really hoping some other participants would have sent questions. Again, I'm looking at, I see Delcora is still with us, Delcora Williams, and Alexandrina Wong is with us as well. I'm hoping they sent a few questions, but not as yet. But again, Elizabeth is available if you want to email any questions to her, or you want to send it to me or Dr. Shanti Singh Anthony, our knowledge management coordinator. You can send those questions to us and we'll be happy to help you. If you have any further questions about Piktochart, oh, and Elizabeth is now putting up her email address. Fantastic. So you can send her any additional questions that you may have about Piktochart, and she'll be happy to help you with that. Or even questions about Canva. As I said, I'm a big fan of Canva. I can't recommend it enough. So if you have any, I know our National AIDS Program managers, our civil society leaders, they have a lot of information they want to share on social media. So I would definitely recommend Piktochart, and I recommend Canva. If you want to get those very eye-catching graphics that'll have your Facebook fans and your Twitter followers paying attention, you can definitely go with Piktochart and Canva. Any final words before we close, Elizabeth?
No, just thank you everyone for being here and asking questions.
Great. So as I said before, I want to thank Elizabeth for a fantastic presentation. I think in your email signature, you should put Piktochart Genius behind your name. You're quite good at Piktochart. You've saved me quite a few times creating products in Piktochart. And this brings us to the end of our webinar, and you will receive a short survey. And I want to encourage all our attendees to provide feedback on this webinar, and it will help us to serve you better for upcoming webinars. So on behalf of PANCAP, the entire partnership, our director, Mr. Derek Springer, our knowledge coordinator, Dr. Shanti Singh Anthony, let me thank our presenter again, Ms. Elizabeth Tully, for investing in this webinar and sharing her knowledge and experience on using Piktochart. And thanks to you, all our participants, for joining us today. And as a reminder, the webinar was recorded, so if you missed anything, you can visit the PANCAP website. That's pancap.org, and the recording will be available for you very soon. It will also be posted on the PANCAP YouTube channel, and it will be available on our Facebook and Twitter accounts, all our digital platforms. So please do join us again for our next webinar. There is this particular page on the PANCAP website that lists all our webinars. So if you want to know what's coming up soon, I want to encourage you to visit pancap.org, and we will have a list there of all our upcoming webinars. Thank you so much again, and please remember to follow us on our social media platforms, as I said, Facebook and Twitter, and we look forward to having you once again for another PANCAP webinar. Thank you to all our participants. Thank you to Ms. Elizabeth Tully for facilitating today's webinar on Piktochart, and please join us again. Thank you so much.